Alrighty, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode on Cut Right History. Today we're going to talk about the history of Taurus and their Beretta 92 clones. And are they good? Were they ever good? Are they worth it? So, basically, in the late 70s, early 80s, Brazil wants Beretta 92s for their military. And they go to Beretta, they're like, hey, we want these things. And Beretta decides it's actually more advantageous for them to set up manufacturing in Brazil to fulfill the contract. So they do. They make, I forget, a whole pile of guns. For the Brazilian military, for the Brazilian government. And when the contract is fulfilled, they sell that tooling and a license for manufacturer to Taurus to make Beretta 92s. And it's the early version of the Beretta 92, as you can see, with the frame-mounted safety as opposed to the slide-mounted safety of like the US M9 that would come later. So the original Taurus PT92s, which are the ones with the fixed sights, and the PT99s, which are the ones with the adjustable sights, they're all made on Beretta tooling to Beretta spec. They are parts interchangeable with those early Berettas entirely, and they're parts interchangeable with modern Berettas, except for the small parts that are different, like the safeties, things like that. But you can drop a Beretta 92 slide onto a Taurus frame and it'll run. The safeties won't, neither, it's funny, you'll have technically two safeties on the gun. Neither one of them will work, but it will run. They are interchangeable, functionally interchangeable to at least fire. Anyways, Taurus, especially nowadays, does not have a good reputation, at least in the American civilian market. They're very much seen as a low-end, the epitome of budget brand. You've seen the memes about the G2C and the G3C. I mean, they're just... Well, we'll leave it there. You can go find those for yourself. But what about these old guns? They still make the PT92. Is it any good? So here's my experience. I used to live in a banned state, and this was my first handgun. And I picked it really only because this gun was actually, both of these were made in the early 90s. But this one in particular was for sale in that banned state, and it came with its original magazines. And that is what I cared about, because in that particular state, if the magazine was manufactured before the federal assault weapons ban, it was grandfathered in, and you could use and carry high-capacity magazines. So I bought this gun really only because it came with a bunch of pre-ban high-cap magazines. And it was my only handgun for a very long time. I shot my first competitions with this gun, all that stuff. I think my practice score account still says I shoot a Taurus PT99. And it's a great gun. It's like I said before, their parts are interchangeable with a Beretta, but functionally as well. This gun, I've put probably the most rounds of any handgun I have through this gun, just because I got it first, and so far before I began collecting, before I was in the firearms, workspace, that field, anything like that. I was just a broke college student. This was cheap, and it came with cool magazines. So I thought it was the best thing ever, and I shot it a lot for a really long time, and it's been super reliable in my experience. I have changed 0 parts. I haven't even changed the magazine release back to right-handed, even though I do shoot handguns right-handed. I have done exceptionally nothing to this. I've cleaned it so few times that honestly it's been neglected and used and abused, and it's been great. I cannot remember the last malfunction I had with it. They're wonderful. It has been wonderful, quite frankly. And I think that is really a testament to the fact that these, late 80s, early 90s production Tauruses were still used on that, or were still manufactured, on that Beretta tooling. That Beretta tooling wasn't worn out yet. It was still very high quality. It was still very close QC. These are great guns. You can usually pick them up for you can always find them for under $500. Sometimes you can even find them for under $400 because these old guns have Taurus's new reputation tied to them. And to be fair to Taurus nowadays, the guns they make are functional, they work. I had a G3C. Again, when I was a broke college kid, I wanted something smaller than this to conceal carry, and that gun was like $220. Is it featureless? Yes. Is it comfortable? No. It's not a high-end gun, but again, it never jammed. It always worked. It does its job, to be fair. But like we said, Taurus has had other issues. They have had QC issues. They had QC issues for a really long time. A lot of guns didn't run for a while. I think now in the past couple of years they're coming out of it. But I would say between the early 2000s and probably COVID, they had a terrible reputation. But it's these guns that escape it, I think. They're fantastic. The reason I have two of them, if you follow me on Instagram at Cut Rate Clones, you know that I'm a big nerd for The Last of Us. So I tracked down one of these just to have the gun from that second game. But they're just, to put it bluntly, they're cheap, reliable, and very functional guns. If you've shot a Beretta before, you know exactly how smooth shooting they are. I also think it's kind of novel that, it's one of the few semi-auto handguns on the market today that aren't just a John Browning tilting barrel design. And don't get me wrong, I love those. I have a whole pile of 1911s. You've seen those. I have Radoms and Tokarevs and USPs and Star High Power 220, SIG P220, all that stuff. It's a great system. There's a reason it's so prolific. However, it is really cool to see that there are other things that work very well. And I think this system lends itself to shooting exceptionally smooth, especially in 9mm. Now, because these guns were so prolific in the late 80s and the early 90s, you can regularly find them in 40 if that's your thing. They're out there, to each their own. Comparing them directly to Beretta, this is going to piss some Beretta fanboys off, to be honest, but they're functionally interchangeable, and to be bluntly honest, I like the manual of arms that comes with the Taurus and what would have been the earlier Beretta a lot more. Now, it's been fixed in newer Berettas, but I like the frame-mounted safety. I like being able to carry cocked and locked if I want to, because I've carried 1911s for so long, having lived in a band state, that I like, and I got used to the manual of arms of drawing and swiping that safety off. I like that. I carry my USP that way. Really, any gun that allows me, I will do that. And you obviously can't do that on your typical Beretta 92 because the safety is also a decocker. The other problem, again, that has been fixed in more modern Berettas, but the other problem I have is the way the safety functions in general. I had a very good friend of mine who used to shoot competition with a Beretta 92 while I shot with the Taurus here, and he would, I mean, this is, you can train around this, you can train around a lot of things, but he would often find that, if he had to rack the gun, he would accidentally put the safety on and then have a dead trigger. So if you're familiar with the M9A4 or the 92G safety, it's spring loaded, so when you decock the hammer, this would spring back up into place. You cannot leave it on safe. So like I said, those problems have been ameliorated on a lot of the newer, more competition-focused Berettas. They do go back to a frame-mounted safety because you can get them single action only, and they have fantastic triggers. So like I said, a lot of that stuff has been fixed and ameliorated in newer Berettas, but those newer Berettas are $1,000 or more. And like I said, I mean, I got this one for $4 and change. I got this one for $4. They're super cheap. The other thing I did want to bring up is the magazines look, that's out of frame, sorry. They look like they would be interchangeable, and they can be, provided you're skilled with the Dremel. But you can see, if I can get that in focus there, the magazine catches, they're even in the same spot. They're just a little bit of a different shape. So the Beretta ones are short and fat, and the Taurus ones are longer and thinner. So you can make them work in both. You just got to do a little, don't call it gunsmithing. That said, the magazine bodies are the same. They are based on the original Beretta magazines, so they're super reliable, and they're fairly cheap. You can find them I found them at gun shows for 10, 15, 20 bucks. And for those of you, I used to live in a band state. I don't keep up with what's going on or how those legalities are going now, but 20 bucks for a pre-ban high capacity magazine, at least back in the day when I was there, is super, super cheap. I mean, I worked at a gun store for a while. Sorry, I was walking away from the camera, but this is a pre-ban AR-15 magazine, and these used to sell for $80, sometimes more. And it's just insane. So to be able to find something like this for a reasonable price was really cool. And that's just my rant about Taurus PT92s. Now, to talk about modern day stuff, like the PT92s that come with the rails and stuff, like stuff you can buy brand new right now, I have zero experience with. I would like to think that Taurus has fixed their QC problems, especially because, they're getting essentially Glock prices for their new PT92s. I mean, they're $5 and change. But I can't speak to that personally. If any of you have, let me know in the comments down below. How has your experience been with new Taurus stuff? The only experience I have one of those. It's the Rossi Brawler. It's their J-frame clone from Rossi, which obviously Taurus owns. And that's a fine gun. That functions just fine. But let me know what your experience is with modern Taurus stuff. Have they fixed it? Is it the same? Are they worth the money? There is another Turkish company that makes one of these. The model starts with an M. It's escaping me right now. I apologize. But if any of you have experience with that one, either let me know, is it worth it? I mean, so you can get a regular Beretta 92 for probably $700, maybe a little bit more, 7 and change. Is it worth it for you guys to drop down to a used for $400, or buy a new Taurus for 500, or the new Turkish one for, I think those are MSRPing a little under 500. Let me know what you think. What is your experience? And just let me know if you made it this far. I appreciate you, and we'll catch you in the next one.